Okay, next episode. I begin this episode underneath because that's where most of the work's been going on. So, let me get some light under here. I have the transmission installed and mounted. Actually didn't go too bad. I still have not put the torque converter to flex plate bolts in yet, but I'll have plenty of room in front of that cross member to do that. I just haven't got around to it because I was wanting to get the mount installed and actually get it to where it's not on a jack anymore. So yeah, I got that installed, and I installed the diff. I'm sorry, the transfer case. Sorry, I've been laying down most of the day. It does look like the beefier transfer case will sit down a little lower than the Colorado. So I'm looking about level right there. And you can see it's pretty far below the cross member. But I have seen the skid work. It's probably just going to be bent down a little, which is fine. I guess that's the trade-off. And then when I order some new skids, I'll have to kind of work around that and see what I could do. So yeah, that's where we're at now. I figured I would install the, not fully, but at least get it in here for some clearance to kind of let you guys know. So as you can see, the drive shaft I just kind of got sitting in there, but that's about where it would be on the rear diff. And as you can see, it actually works. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, that's pretty much exactly where the output shaft of the transfer case aligned with the Colorado. So the rear drive shaft looks like it'll work. The front drive shaft, I've got a bag over the output shaft just to kind of protect it. It's actually a female, so I don't know if you'd really want to call it an output shaft per se. But yeah, I'm still haven't figured that one out. I'll get one built, but I'll have to kind of tell them how it has to kind of go over that cross member. I should try to install the Silverado one and kind of see how that does. I'll probably do that next weekend. It's getting to my quitting time. But yeah, you can kind of see how low that is here. I can live with that. It's worth it for the V8 to have that sitting low like that. And it's pretty beefy, and with the skid plate, and then, you know, eventually when I get some beefier skid plates under here, I'll have to do something to kind of work around that. But other than that, I think we're looking good. I still haven't installed the breather. That's the breather for the diff. I mean, I keep saying diff, the transfer case. I didn't really cover it yet, but what I ended up doing. All right, so to make this work, I was originally using the Silverado transmission mount, but the bolts that go through the cross member right there were a lot thicker. Actually, I don't know where I have the mount. I've got it over there. I can show you it in a little bit. But the crazy thing is I have the engine all the way back on the mounts. So I can't move it any more back. And with the transmission installed, it's like a hair too far forward, which means I can actually move it back a little bit, and this would fit with the Silverado transmission mount. But there's no more room on the adapter plates for the engine mount, so I cannot move the engine to the rear any more than what it already is. So it is as far back as I can do with the mounts that were from current. So to kind of get around that, I ended up just reusing the Colorado mount, which it worked as far as obviously to here, but the bolts right here are actually too small. So I ended up having to drill out the mount. I used a 1/2-inch drill bit and just basically made that hole a little bit bigger so that I can use the Silverado bolts right here, mount that up. A little trick, you want to leave this a little loose, like do not tighten this. Leave this whole mount loose while you're trying to feed it onto the cross member, and then that'll give you enough play to kind of get this thing all kind of mounted up and tightened down. I tightened down these first, then those, then I tightened up these. I actually have these on backwards. I believe the bolt is supposed to come through this way and the nut's supposed to be on this side. But it was easier trying to kind of lift that up, feed these in without having to basically reach around. And then now it's kind of set to the point that no matter how much tension I try to take off of this with my transmission jack, I can't pull those back out. I'm going to end up having to loosen it all again, and I do not want to do that, so I will have to live with these going the other way, which I'm perfectly fine with. But you could see up here in the trans tunnel, there's actually quite a bit of room. Let me see if I can get the camera up in there. But yeah, pretty good. We're sitting pretty. So I want to get steel drive shafts anyways, so the nice thing about this is I can actually run the GM Performance steel one and not have to get one custom made, but I will probably price that out anyways because it might actually be a little cheaper, but we'll see, especially since I'll be having to do the front. Alright, let's go around. Alright, while I'm out here, you can see how beefier these nuts are, and they're pretty thick. Trying to get that to work is a little difficult. That's the transmission mount, but we'll come back around here. I have not done anything else really up here. I do have, okay, so one of the other things I did was, as you can see here, this is the transfer case and diff breather, or I'm sorry, god dang it. The transfer case and the transmission breathers, the Silverado ones actually are a lot farther down. And so I ended up taking the ones off of the ZR2 motor and put them on here with some hose clamps to make sure they're nice and tight. This is actually tilted a lot more than what I thought it was going to be. So I might have to look at that some more. Because I'm looking at this now and I'm kind of wondering how I'm going to plug that in. I might have to take it off, kind of move that. But yeah, other than that, you know, getting to the transmission bolts weren't too bad. I do have to kind of finagle this back over because it goes on to here with a nut. But I'll worry about that. You can see the flex plate down there. So next weekend I'll turn that and get the torque converter flex plate bolts on. Probably mount the starter too. I don't really see anything else that I may need clearance in there for to keep the starter out, but it'll give me something to do while I wait for the harness. But I think once I get that, I could take some dimensions. That's another reason why I haven't pulled the front diff yet. Right now, since I have it all mounted up, I could take some dimensions and try to get that front drive shaft ordered. Let's go underneath here and look. So yeah, don't mind my little situation there, but so we got the front diff here. I think we'll be good. I think we'll be good. It's just a matter of, you know, getting something made, hopefully small enough to kind of clear this. This is probably the biggest clearance. I did have an adapter to go to AN lines here, but because of the front drive shaft going right there, I'm probably just going to order another one of these. This is the Silverado block because I need it to come straight down, and it'll probably be nice to have hard lines coming through right there just for off-roading purposes. I'd probably rather have the hard lines at least going towards the front, and then I'll probably AN it. Do an AN fitting at the other end and go into the cooler up there with AN fittings. But yeah, this fluid's pretty gross. But I'll be dropping the pan and running a couple cycles of new trans fluid in there. Another thing is, so this is the shifter mechanism. This is actually the plate from the Colorado, and this is the shifter arm from the Colorado. So those of you that are doing this just to make life easier, if you use the shifter arm and the bracket, I'm pretty sure the spacing is the same. I'll find out once I get that actually hooked up. I just got it kind of hanging loose now. I just got done basically mounting all this up. But yeah, I mean, it looks good, but that'll allow this end to actually click into the arm, and this end to actually click into there. So hopefully the spacing is good. Once I get that attached, I'll run through the gears and see what we got. Yeah, I gotta hook this back up. Let me just kind of set it in there right now. But yeah, another issue will be the exhaust right here. I think they told me the 9th is when that should be completed and coming out to me, and then it'll just kind of, I'll start test fitting it. Hopefully it'll work. We will see. But yeah, I think we're sitting pretty. There'll probably be a lot of videos with a lot of just little things going on because I'll have to, you know, I'm kind of glad I did this oil filter relocation because you can see up in there. I mean, there's just barely any room. So I'll run. I've got the bypass plate and the relocation bracket. So I'll probably install the bypass in there. I'm waiting on a couple AN fittings. If you saw my last video, I had some issues. I can actually show you that. Let me show a couple parts. So give me 1 second. Alright, so here's kind of the fittings that I've got. Well, I should say, this is all part of the oil filter relocation setup that I have to do based on that oil filter clearance. So this is the bypass. So this will go where the oil filter goes. There's a giant nut. Tighten that up there. I'll probably put it up there about like this. Has some 1/2 inch tapered. Go to AN lines. And then I'll have the oil filter relocation bracket somewhere. Still haven't figured out where yet. But it's got a couple holes. It's got an in and an out, but that are on the same parallel to one another, so you can do either offset like this, you could do both on one side, either side. But my issue was, so this is actually, I've already returned the bed fittings, but the fittings they sent me were not tapered. I don't know if you can kind of tell, but you can tell that it kind of slopes in because these are actually a tapered fitting. So the ones that I originally got, when you'd start screwing them in like this is kind of hard to do with one hand. Let's do this one. When you'd start threading it, it would go about like that, and it would be stopped. I mean, you'd thread it like a thread. And so that was telling me that they likely sent me the wrong fittings. All the packaging said they were 1/2 inch tapered, and they were not. As you can see, this one goes in a lot farther. So you get it to about right there, which is what you're supposed to be able to do with these types of fittings. So I ended up buying 2 generic ones. Those ones worked perfect. So that's what kind of told me that they did not send me the correct part. So I returned those, and then I ordered some good ones. These are Canton Racing, who makes these. They make this and that. So I figured if anybody's stuff is going to fit, it's going to be theirs. The only bad thing is they only come in blue. They don't make any other color for this particular size for some reason. But that's alright. I'm going to just do blue fittings. I decided I'm just going to, the place I'm getting some of my other lines from has colored lines, so I'm just going to do blue for the oil. I'll pick some other color for the fuel and some other color for the transmission. No big deal. But that's pretty much my AN dilemma that I think I've got figured out now, but that's kind of put me a little behind, but not too much. All right, I'll catch you on the next one.